Sugar. I should have got water. I'm going to get water. Okay. So, last two chapters of Deepak Chopra. We'll see. Loving practice, heating spirit. This is important because you should listen to spirit, the universe, your guides, wisdom. If spirit is sending you signals, if spirit is sending signals to you, how can you heed them? Second attention has much in common with intuition and creativity. It is well known that the both are faculties of the mind, the human mind. From a spiritual viewpoint, you are always a creator. I don't have my highlighters. I need my highlighters. Okay. Highlighters. Let's do this. What did I want to highlight? The most important sentence ever written. From a spiritual viewpoint, you are always a creator. The tiny situation in your life is not made out there, but in here. From the source of reality, which is awareness. People who believe that the material world is causing things to happen are simply unconscious creators. They haven't taken responsibility for being authors of their own lives. I say that all the time. You write your own story, right? And I'm a writer, so I write away. You know? Second attention gives you the ability to take authorship, of your life, putting you at the center of the daily process of making the reality you perceive. Since all of us are conditioned to believe that nature operates independently of what we think, wish, dream, and feel, reclaiming authorship of our reality is a gradual process. What color should that be? This magenta. Can you tell the difference of these are two different hues? Can you see what I see? This one's lighter, and this one's more a magenta. Anyways. The attitude towards life of someone who functions as a creator is based on these 5 cardinal beliefs, few of which you have been taught unless you are extremely fortunate. Cardinal beliefs. What are they? Number 1. I am an empty vessel. Inspiration fills me every day, but I'm not here to hold on to anything that comes to me. And this is something that people have yet to learn. There are people that hoard their ideas because they're afraid people will steal it. They see it as a possession. It's mine. I created it. It's mine. So those people are obviously unconscious. Number 2, I'm here to pass energy from one state to another. Hopefully I move it from a lower to a higher state. Since my purpose is to direct everything upwards, you want to go up. To the top. 3, I do not have to control the flow of reality. I bend where spirit bids me. Number 4, the fullness of spirit, not my ego, provides. Right? If I live from the source of creation, only good can come to me. Everything from spirit comes from love. How wonderful is that? That's beautiful. I believe it. I live it. I create it. I'm about it. Getting to these beliefs and making them work for you is a goal that spirit can help you with. Society in general is not attuned to such a life, which is why all artists and true lovers have had to travel far outside the accepted framework of social beliefs. Society supports struggle, competition, and ego, which means that it supports separation. I've talked about this, but it's basically what they thrive on: separation and ego. And what more can be said? The worldview of separation is extremely convincing. Millions of people spend every day simply trying to cope with survival. People are trying to survive, and that's not what life is about. If you want to survive, go on a survival show, the Naked but Afraid. But to live your life just to survive is not living. But living in separation isn't love. By definition, it cannot bring you unity. Spirit is your chief and only ally in your quest for unity. The tactics of non-love will never get you to love. In the following exercise, you can learn how to transmute the beliefs and behaviors of separation into those of love, using the signals that spirit is always sending. Part 1. I don't know why I made that face. No, Rango, I'm reading. All right, sit there. Right there. Okay. The voice of spirit is constantly competing with other voices inside you, and the outcome of your life depends on which voice you follow. There's a big saying, an ancient saying in Indian, Native American culture. There's 2 wolves inside of you fighting for power, one of darkness and one of light, and you choose who to feed. I like that. right, get comfortable. All right, I'll pet you too. Since inner voices are constantly constant, you can estimate what a person expects from life by looking at his or inner voices for a period no longer than 48 hours. How does he determine? No longer than 48 hours. So I can tell right from one sentence or before they even open their mouth. Anyways, read the following statements and check those that have applied to you over the past 2 days. We're friends now, right? You're not going to claw me. Why are your tears? Why are you crying? Anyways, I was afraid something wasn't going to work out for me. Yes, 2 days ago. 2, I resolved the situation by acting nicer than I really felt. Yeah. 3, I couldn't figure out how I felt about something, usually, but then I meditate. 4, I had doubts about how someone close to me actually feels about me. Not really. Sometimes. 5, I didn't tell the truth when I should have. I always tell the truth. 6, someone hurt my feelings, but I let it pass. I usually tell people when they hurt my feelings because your emotions are valid. Your feelings are valid. I had worries when I went to bed, or I had a bad dream, or I had insomnia. Nope. I don't have insomnia. I do have bad dreams, but that's usually something that's for a reason, and rare for me now. Someone let me down. And I thought about how good things used to be and wished I could go back. No, I have no regrets. I'm never going back. Heidi, really? Go play. Stop being jealous. Stop being jealous. She gets so jealous. Anyways. Number 10, right? I felt frustrated by some part of my life that's gotten out of control. No. I live in the chaos. I thrive. 11, I regretted something I said. Once in a while, yes. Actually, no, because I have intention when I speak. Huh? I felt bad about my feelings. At one point, before I educated myself, I did feel bad about having feelings for the person I have feelings for. But my feelings are valid. Anyways, I talked behind someone's back. I try not to. I'm human, so sometimes it happens, but then I redeem myself, I guess. I usually just tell people to their face if they are being jerks or they did something I didn't like. I complained to someone who couldn't help the situation I was in. That's literally, I'm not going to be mean. Anyways, I don't complain. I just express myself. Someone bothered me, but I didn't confront them. Literally today with that guy with the milk, with the white milk. But I chose my battles, you know. I was afraid to ask for what I wanted. I'm never afraid to ask what I want. Right? 17, I didn't say I love you. I always say I love you, or I express my love. I felt bad about myself. I mean, I'm human, so, but then I kind of kill those thoughts because I'm hot. I looked at the news on TV and thought things were really getting worse. Nope. Nothing seemed to go right. I don't have that mindset. Each check counts as a point, your total, your score. Yeah, so I got I got points, but no, wait, I said no to most of these. So I got 0 to 5 points, and it says you live in the present and do not heed strong inner voices of fear or guilt. Your self-worth is based upon real expectations. You're not struck reliving past emotions or trying to atone for past mistakes. Others may marvel at how low your stress is, but you work to keep it that way every day. Are you guys marveled at my low stress? I mean, I'm not stressed at all. Like I'm good. I'm in the zone. The auto zone. Bye. Okay, good. So let's see what else he says. The whole business of inner voices is highly complex. But for Spirit's viewpoint, the only inner voice you need to follow is that of your higher self. So your voice is the most important voice. In any sense. To see if you are heeding that voice, read the next list of statements and check which ones have applied to you over the last 2 days. Am I reading the same thing? Oh, no, I'm not. Inception. So I check ones that have applied to you over the last 2 days. I decided to go it alone on something that matters to me. Yeah, I always do it alone. Because no one has stepped up to the plate, of being my warrior, my partner in crime. So that's something that will happen eventually when it needs to, and blah, blah, blah. 2, I had a great new idea. I always have great new ideas. I came up with a way to solve a situation out of nowhere. Happens all the time. All right, so I love you. I said I love you. Check. I got something off my chest I wanted to say for a while. Yes, some videos, obviously. I swallowed my pride and admitted I was wrong. Yes, I am an adult. I supported someone who was in doubt or wanted to make a difficult change. I always support people, when they need the most support. I stood up for myself, even though I felt nervous about it. Yeah. Despite the evening news, I feel life is good. Yes. I'm getting yes for all of this. Ugh. I didn't blame anyone. I didn't complain. I don't complain. It's not complaining. I do something about it. I search deep inside. Yes. I made someone feel better about themselves than they did before. I hope so, yes. I hope everyone watching this, right? I saw something good in someone who had made a bad impression on me before. People surprise me, yes. And I like that. I trusted and it worked out. Yes. My faith in God was justified. Yes. Unbreakable. And there were people there during situations where God doesn't exist, and whatever. I had a moment of insight. Yes. I was tempted to jump to conclusions, but didn't. Yeah, I try not to jump to conclusions because that's just energy that I don't want to waste. I forgave myself, or I was kind to myself. Always. I was at peace. I got 20 points. You are in tune with spirit. Conventionally, religious beliefs matter much less to you than active participation in your own creative lifestyle. Your belief in God is founded on experience. He knows it. This guy. But at the same time, you consider yourself the author of your own existence. We have free will. We can do what we want. In a crisis, you may be shaken, but when the emotions clear, you look for positive outcomes and almost always find them. You think in terms not of being safe, but of what you want to do and want to be. You follow your star. Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, I follow my star. I always look at my star and I pray to my star. Love to you means a force beyond personality that can be seen and felt everywhere you look if you only look hard enough. So most people think that love is just purely physical attraction, and it is much more complex. The people who fall in love with appearances will be sorely mistaken in the long run. And for the people that don't fall in love based on appearances, their love is deeper and more meaningful and everlasting. You will know. You don't even have to meet them in person. You will know. In most cases, and I just want to say, I was already gone the moment. So the moment I saw your eyes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Who am I talking about? My children. In most cases, scoring high on either of these tests means that you scored low on the others, because following the voice of spirit is the opposite of following the voices of fear, anger, and doubt. Spirit's voice is harder to follow because it's neither loud nor demanding. Okay, so yeah, that is so true. So before we go into this amazing deepness, speaking through psychology, people who are mentally ill because they only hear the voices of fear, sickness, and ego. Those voices are so loud and so debilitating and so distracting. It's like constant, like it's like an attack. because I was very mentally ill for a very long time. And it was like constantly, like, you would just be minding your business, having a good day, and all of a sudden you get thoughts like, I need to kill myself, or um, you're a stupid bitch, or like you're disgusting, and like racist shit that isn't part of you. Um, and that's why people who are mentally ill, they hear voices, but those voices are, it's their ego, attacking them, making them feel small and sick, because it benefits off of that, stagnation. And once you accept, you realize, okay, so yes, these voices are saying all these bad things. And even if they're true, I still am worthy of living the life that I want. And then that changes everything. Um, it's accepting your demons, understanding that you have two sides, dark and light, your demon side, your angel side, and choosing which one you want to be. Um, you know, do you want to be the devil, or do you want to be an angel? Or do you want both balanced, because that's ultimately what you want. You want balance. So that is something that isn't taught in Western culture, Western medicine, our society. We just automatically say, oh my God, this person's hearing voices. They're dangerous. They're going to kill other people. They're going to kill themselves. They can't. And it's not, yes, it can be dangerous, but if you know the reason why, it's manageable and curable. Um, yeah. And there's going to be doctors who disagree with me, and that's okay, because the evidence is presented to you as we speak. So I love my tattoos. I don't know, it's just like perfect. I need more. Ooh, my friend's here. Let me say hi. My friend's over, and she found the cat. All right. Anyways, in most cases, scoring high on either of these tests means that you scored low on the other. Blah blah blah. But it is you who hold on. You are the one who decides which voice to heed. I said that. And which to reject. A vast majority of the time, people do not heed the voice that makes them either happy or loving. They are led into unloving and unhappy outcomes because they followed the wrong voice, and they spend immense amount of time in therapy basically to get these wrong voices out of their head. That's even if they want to go to therapy. Like some people just they don't care. Therapy is great. I love it. The next exercise will help you to recognize when spirit is speaking to you and how to heed it. Part 2. Getting rid of the negative voices in your head isn't accomplished by arguing with them, ignoring them, or trying to pretend that they aren't there. It involves the process of letting go. The Loving Practice Letting Go, page 169, details how this process works. Page 169. Here I will be concerned with how to attune yourself to the voice of spirit. Spirit is hard to listen to if you are enmeshed in your own beliefs and social conditioning for these following reasons. Whew. Spirit is not verbal like other thoughts in your head. It comes as an insight, an aha that makes you see things in a new light. Spirit doesn't argue or try to persuade. It shows you what is real in a given situation, pure and simple. That is true. I argue with them sometimes. Oh my God, voices. Spirit doesn't say, if you don't do this, that will follow. Yeah, they don't punish. It's not about that at all. There are no ultimatums or threats. Isn't that nice? That's so sweet. Spirit doesn't communicate in terms of right and wrong. Whatever you decide to do, Spirit will support you. You can't make Spirit do anything. It speaks when it wants to, but you can be sure that it will speak at the right time. Yeah, you can't be like, talk to me, like give me the answers I want, because that's not how it works. You know, sometimes you don't even need their help. You just realize the answer later. Spirit never comes from anything but love. If you are looking for a way to find revenge, to prove yourself right, to oppose or conquer others or punish, the voice in your head isn't spirit. That's your ego. Those are the bad voices. The voices that are trying to destroy you. These are the guidelines that enable you to tune into your second attention. The first attention is dominated by outside events, by expectations about the way things should turn out, and by old conditioning. If you detect any of these influences, you know you aren't in spirit. Ask yourself the following question anytime you have a doubt about this. Am I angry or anxious? Question mark. Am I suspicious or doubtful? Question mark. Do I feel overwhelmed by what's going on around me? Question mark. Is someone else trying to make up my mind for me? Question mark. Is my body tense or feeling discomfort? Question mark. Has this happened to me before? Question mark. Am I just repeating a past scenario? Question. Do I feel to have things turn out a certain way? Question. And do I feel I'm in danger? I'm not any of those things. I do get angry and anxious, suspicious, a little bit doubtful. But not to the extreme. These are normal and manageable feelings. These are signals from your ego, far removed from spirit. Despite the fact that we act on such signals all the time, it is the absence of this ego signals that spirit is speaking to you. One kind of signal can't be converted to the other. Transmuting your behavior from ego based to spirit means cultivating your second attention. If you act on spirit, you will see the results that you've never expected, such as these. Should I highlight everything? I should. I'm not going to highlight. I'm going to make little hearts. Your fears will no longer come true. Your happiness no longer depends on expectation. You will feel safe. You will feel loved. And that's pretty much it. And as you begin to heat spirit, you can only increase in love. Passion for life will appear naturally. Same thing. We are like empty vessels being endlessly refilled with spirit. To be in love with someone is to share in inexhaustible flow. So the meaning of being in love with a partner is to have never-ending energy. Basically, you're feeding yourselves energy, and it's never gonna dissipate. Love shares awareness, and we're like a battery. Love shares awareness and being. It is a silent communication that unites two people more and more in a spiritual reality unknown outside their intimacy. They have reclaimed their lives by becoming authors of their own reality. Whew. That is so romantic. Be the author of your own reality. Be the writer. You write your story, no matter how crazy it may seem. I have some weird stories, but I like it. They're very good, very erotic. With imagery. In our lives, and this is the last chapter of this book, wooing the goddess. Is this the last chapter? Oh, sorry, no, it's almost the last chapter. But I think this is gonna be my favorite one. Wooing the goddess. So negative thoughts still happen. Sometimes it's like super random, and that's ego will always exist, no matter what level you're in. So sometimes I just get hit with racist shit, and that's not who I am, and whatever. No, go play with your mom. Here, I'm gonna pet you. Wooing the goddess, guys. This is advice to you and anyone, not only men. Can I help you? You need attention from me? Why? Your mom's here. Hmm? All right, I want to finish reading though. Yeah, sit over there. Anyways, wooing the goddess. Excuse me. Sit your booty. All right. I'm sure you don't want to hear any problems, Amy began. Another boring, weepy wife. How many have you met? Ow! He bit me. Not hard, though. How many have you met as a doctor? 100, 1,000? She sounded distraught. Is boring how you feel? I asked Amy. Amy's eyes turned dull. It doesn't matter how I feel, she said. After 20 years of marriage to a CEO from San Diego named Fred, Amy considered herself a discarded wife. Is Fred seeing someone else? Does he want a divorce? I asked. Amy shook her head. I don't know what he wants. We don't see each other much these days. I'm alone until he's driven home after 6, if he can make it at home at all. He might as well have a cellular phone grafted to his ear for all he pays attention when he's around. I'm going to bed means going to sleep. Why be in a relationship at that point? Do you think Fred wants the situation to change? I asked. Why would he? His life's exciting. I'm a boring holdover from his past. Wow. That's harsh for yourself, like saying that about yourself. Amy looked sad, but instead of crying, she sighed and squared her shoulders. You've used the word boring twice, I pointed out. Is that something we can talk about? Amy shrugged and looked away. I guess, she said. Since we all tend to find it easier to look outward than inward, I said, we rarely challenge the notion that there are boring people and boring situations. When people complain that her or his marriage has become boring, the usual remedy is external. The woman decides she needs to look more seductive. So she buys a flimsy negligee thing. I cannot pronounce. Turns on the lights and puts on mood music. The man brings home candy and flowers and vows to take his wife dancing. A half smile crossed Amy's face as to say, we are way beyond that. I went on. Being external, these can be only superficial gestures, and I talked about superficial love. The heart of the problem is not a boring relationship, and by implication, a boring partner, but a failure to discover where passion comes from and how it's kept alive. What you're talking about here is the fading of passion. It is really all on Fred's side. How exciting is he? Obviously, he's not exciting if he's looking at his phone and not doing shit. Just saying. That doesn't seem to matter, Amy said. Not to him. You feel guiltier than he does, I said. I'd be surprised if he felt any more desirable than you do right now. Amy looked surprised. It was clear that she was resigned to a boring marriage and that she had taken all the blame for that upon herself. Before asking the question, where did the passion go? I said. You first have to ask, why did I want it to go? Passion is the flow of life. In all its natural exuberance, passion doesn't fade, it gets blocked. And you have to ask why you blocked it. I didn't wait for Amy to answer since she looked baffled. The answer almost always is rooted in the past. To a surprising extent, we all have learned to approach passion with caution as something that may hurt us. An unconscious censor inside your mind decides whether it is permissible for you to feel passion or not. I've always suspected that Fred thinks I'm cold, Amy said. We used to disagree a lot, but a lot about how much sex is normal. Okay. I'm not going to judge. All sex is good. You know, consensual. Meaning that you got tagged as a wanting too little, I asked. Her silence was an answer enough. The issue of how much sex is too little or too much is a diversionary tactic. I said, normal is however much two people feel comfortable with, consensual, as long as there is love. Could the real issue be that sex wasn't so good for you, so you gradually wanted less of it? Fred ain't doing the job. He ain't got shit. What he doing? Who knows? Fred's not the champion he thinks he is, Amy said with sudden resentment. She stopped herself, biting her lip. Do it. Fred's very competitive, I pointed out. And performance is extremely important to such men. Tenderness doesn't come easily to them, nor does sensitivity to their partners. But the blame can always be shifted by claiming that the woman is undersexed or that the man has too much libido. Again, the real issue isn't too much or too little. It's how much emotion you feel safe expressing through sexual activity. In other words, how much you judge against passion. I don't judge against it, Amy protested. You judge against your emotions, which amounts to the same thing I said. Gotcha. This guy, I love him. He's awesome. He is one of the best therapists and spiritual gurus that I have discovered. And I think he will put other doctors to sleep because he spits fire. Sex is always about emotions. Good sex is about free emotion. Bad sex is about blocked emotions. Makes sense, like bad sex. Oof. I think we've all had it. So what is... Hold on. So what is it that blocks the flow of emotions? This blockage is felt as boredom, which is what both of you feel. Maybe I'm just boring. There she goes again, this lady. No, that is guilt, which is holding back a lot of anger, I said. Boredom is never a primary feeling. It arises from a much more basic response, an inner hurt that has disconnected you from yourself. Boredom begins when you allow yourself to feel little or no emotional stimulation, and from there stem the reactions of dullness, lethargy, and depression. Listen, I said, everything you want from Fred, you can give yourself. You know what I mean? Listen, I said, everything you want, you can give it to yourself. Pinning your frustration on your mate is like pinning your happiness on him, only in reverse, and neither will work. Putting your happiness in someone else's hands is never going to work. Where are you going to find passion if not in yourself? Having found it, you can give it to Fred in the way you want him to give it to you. That is always the solution. I suggested that we leave Fred entirely out of it for the moment and talk more about emotions. How do you feel about yourself right now? I asked. I'm afraid to tell you. Why? Don't just say it. Amy said with a twisted smile. Because you're going to say boring, right? She nodded. Boredom is a thing of numbness. I pointed out, a person who says I have no feelings really means I can't find my feelings anymore. Oof. Clearly, I had struck a chord. Amy began to tell me of nights when she was afraid she felt nothing for Fred, when their lovemaking was so perfunctory that she couldn't wait for it to be over. But what was the feeling you were pushing aside? I asked. If you look deep enough, you'll find that it was hurt. But what was the feeling you were pushing aside? I asked. If you look deep enough, you'll find that it was hurt. That would be the most natural feeling for anyone, man or woman, whose partner isn't really making love. Love is not about orgasm. It's about surrender to the other person, and Fred doesn't sound like he was ever capable of surrender. And no one is perfect. And even if you're in a loving relationship, spiritual union, I'm sure this happens once in a while. Because you get tired, man. And forgiveness is key. I ask for forgiveness a lot. I'm not sure he knows the concept, Amy said softly. Clearly, no one had told Fred that noticing someone else's emotion is the essence of communication. And a lot of men don't understand that. But it struck me that Amy's feelings, or lack of them, had to be addressed first. Let's try to understand something, I suggested. Why do you feel one way and somebody else another? We have to go back to this whole question of boundaries. Boundaries. In most cases, early childhood taught us that being cold and self contained was preferable to being emotional. Passion came to be equated with emotions that were too much for your own good. Children are taught to respect that emotional boundaries imposed by parents. I've talked about this before. I don't impose. You, as a parent, you don't impose anything on your children. Maybe like rules for their safety, but to impose emotional boundaries is kind of fucked up. Like telling your kid don't cry because women cry. Rude. Let them cry. Sensitive boys are cute. And they're the sweetest. The sweetest. They grow up to be the best artists, the best creators, the best poetry, the writers, Anyways, this teaching usually isn't direct, but it doesn't have to be. Without being handed a textbook, a child quickly learns to recognize when she is crying too much, laughing too hard, or being too noisy. That is true. My mom has this habit that she doesn't like it when I laugh. It's really weird. She thinks I'm making fun of her, but I'm just laughing. Like I'm literally just laughing my ass off. Like I'm enjoying myself. So this is true. I'm never too noisy. No, actually, never mind. I'm very noisy. And I don't think crying too much is a bad thing. Just cry. Yet by nature, all emotion is spontaneous, which means that an emotion like crying or laughing will run its course if allowed to. There is no such thing as crying too much. We simply cry until we are through. And we are through when the underlying energy of hurt has spent itself. Likewise, there's no such thing as laughing too hard or getting too angry or grieving beyond measure. The limits we impose on all of our emotions originated with the discomfort of our parents. Exactly what I said. My mom gets uncomfortable. We formed our boundaries by reacting to theirs. I have never seen my mom laugh her ass off. We formed our boundaries by reacting to theirs. They also were taught as children to recognize when an emotion was too much. Their sense of appropriateness was inherited, and they had little choice but to pass it on. Uh, Obviously, that didn't work for me. The cycle continues, and I decided to break that cycle. So did my sister. You just have to make the choice not to continue inheritance and norms and just be the end and be the beginning of new. It looked like someone's face appeared in my window. Anyways, what this means, I told, is that your emotional life isn't completely yours. It comes to you secondhand and even third hand. Every tear you shed, every angry outburst, every peal of laughter reflects an emotional comfort range of parents and grandparents, people who are not yourself. My sudden emphasis startled Amy. She reflected for a moment. So what am I supposed to do? Go wild, lose myself? I'm too old for those games. Come on, nobody's old for games. I'm not saying that all emotional displays are appropriate, no matter how extreme. Excuse me. Was that too much? If we had been allowed to discover our emotions without outside inhibition, they would not run to extremes. Nature respects its own limits. A medical parallel can be made to blood pressure. When the body needs to call upon its vascular system, contracts and dilates, resulting in very high blood pressure when you are excited or exercising heavily, for example, and lower blood pressure for periods of relaxation or creativity. There are extreme variations from normal blood pressure, yet they are entirely natural. The body knows how to accommodate its needs regardless of what arbitrarily deemed normal. Nature's definition of normal is whatever your system needs at any given moment in order to remain in balance. So yes, very important fact. Your body will tell you what it needs. Like when you're craving something, that's what your body needs. Emotions are released to restore balance in the psyche, and if left to its natural mechanisms, the psyche has no difficulty determining when appropriate to laugh, cry, burst out in anger, or tremble in fear. The connection with passion is passion is just the free flow of natural emotional energy. And as discussed previously, being bipolar is seen as a negative because you're going from extreme emotions to those people who don't want to be emotional. And nothing that I have done currently in my life has proved how dumb that is. I mean, am I saying it right? The opposite has proved that that's not the case. That essentially I have no mental illness, but it's okay. In order for people to understand, they need labels. But being treated in the system of psychiatry The pills that were given do not allow you to have any emotion. You're numb. And that was far more damaging than me crying my ass off in a closet, writing stories and writing poetry, than anything. Like, because being numb is the most dangerous thing you could do to a person. Because that's when they have no emotions for anyone, anything, anything. And that's dangerous. But what do I know? I'm sure Deepak will talk about it. What this would also suggest, as I said, is the emotional therapy is in order here. But what if Fred doesn't think there's a problem? What if he finds if it's too threatening to explore emotions? Ooh. Instead of depending on him, let's look at passion from a spiritual viewpoint. With the aim of seeing if you can regain your passion, ultimately, isn't that the problem? I don't know why I have to burp so much. Fred's response is merely a reflection of what is going on inside you spiritually. Hesitantly, Amy agreed to go in this direction. It was clear that long-standing emotional difficulties in her marriage weren't going to be solved by having a talk with me, but the spiritual issues ran much deeper than emotion. If we could peel away the level of negative feelings inside of you, we're like onions. I said, we could expose a deeper core, are we? What is this core made of? There are many related factors, beliefs that separation has to occur, habits of being isolated, old defeatism that prevents you from trying to reconnect. But if we look at these levels, a surprisingly simple diagnosis emerges. We feel bored when we can't admit that we have desires. Let me tell you, I have many desires that need to be fulfilled at this time by someone. Anyways, unless desires are allowed to run their course, I said, existence feels futile. Your mate didn't inflict this condition on you, it is your own creation. Futility is a depressed condition that signifies what I want doesn't matter. This in turn is tied to similar beliefs, such as what I feel doesn't make a difference, and what I say doesn't get heard. The common thread linking all these versions is that you are powerless. No one is powerless. Someone with no power feels that desire is hopeless since it will never be fulfilled. Therefore, why bother to have desires in the first place? Amy is an intelligent woman, and the fact that she had subordinated her power to Fred was not lost on her. As is true of most depressed people, she had no Shakti of her own. The five powers of us should take strength from where greatly diminished in her. Shakti is the female energy, the creator, the mother. Instead of I am, she felt, do I deserve to be here? Instead of I am blissful, she felt I can't feel. Instead of I will, she felt I can't. Instead of I know, she felt I doubt. Instead of I act, she felt I don't know what to do. Where did her Shakti go? The roots of powerlessness run deep. Some people feel that they were stripped of their power by their parents, by destiny, by God. In fact, We are all disempower ourselves. It is impossible to exist without desires, which Shakti uses to guide us from one fulfillment to the other, to another. If the desire is denied, however, Shakti is rendered useless. It takes an active effort to make desire to go away. Passion doesn't fade, it must be suppressed. So I'm going to leave it at this, and we will continue this, I promise. Because we're at the end. He's written 16 books. I'm sure he's written more. Anyways, so yes, so that is something to think about. Passion never dies. It just is suppressed. And it's okay to have desires. I used to think that me having desires was a negative. You know, the desire to have a family with someone who was married. And I think that basically it's not disrespectful unless you make it disrespectful, unless you know that person is in a committed relationship and you're sending them nudes and blah blah blah. But to have a desire for someone based on their personality and their soul is something very sacred and loving and kind, and nothing but pure intention, you know, no animosity to anyone who's involved. Because in the end, you realize there's a reason and your feelings are valid. And also for the young ones, those kids, you know, who are love struck. If you're young, don't go after someone who's married and old and stuff, you know, because you're young. Like, find someone who has the same energy, first of all. And also, if you really love that person, you don't have to wait for them, but you can be there as a friend, because that's essentially what real love is. You don't want anything from them. You just want to be part of their life. And that's something that a lot of young guys don't understand. And I'm trying to think of scenarios with young girls. They tend to understand that more. You know, guys say, if you put me in the friend zone, and they're like, oh, you know, that is bullshit. So for young men who are head over heels, if they realize that the gift is just being in existence, in the presence of the woman, the person they're in love with, you know, is the winning game, then that's what real love is. If I was in a world where I wasn't permitted to, well, I don't need permission, but I knew that in the long run, my partner was better off with someone else, I would still be their friend and help them in any way possible as a friend. Because that's what it is. Like, it's just not it's not anything about manipulation. It's not I'm going to sneak in there and send weird things. Like, that's what being a friend is really about. And there's a lot of fake people, trust me, who have intentions that aren't positive, who have a secret agenda, who in the end are greedy, and they just want the D or the P, I don't know. You know what I mean? And then after they get it, if they get it, which I hope they don't get it, they leave and they just throw you in the trash. Speaking possibly from experience. So so that's something to think about for young people discovering life and love and heartache. Getting heartbroken means you're alive. So I'm not saying it's going to be a normal thing, but it's a lesson. So, and write your heart out, express your heartache. Those are the best songs, the best writings, the best stories, the best poetry, the best movies, because everyone's been heartbroken. Everyone. The people that have never been heartbroken, they've been heartbroken, they just hide it, So anyways, I'll be back. Some song. Anyways.